live in a neighborhood in an area full of quaint little eateries and other small shops, just a 30-minute walk away from my house. On this particular day, my friend and I had just returned from the beach and we were both starving. My mum, who had driven us there, along with my siblings and my friend's sister, said that if we were hungry, she would give us some money and drop us off at a small restaurant before driving herself and my siblings back to my house for a sleepover. She was too tired to wait around for us to order some food and didn't mind us walking back in the dark since our neighborhood was relatively safe. After she dropped us off and sped away, my friend decided to order a sandwich and I ordered one for myself as well. We were both still damp from the ocean and covered in sand, so I was literally itching to return home and take a shower. The sandwich place was just closing since it was around 10 and getting very dark, so we immediately began walking back once our orders were finished. The walk from the little area full of shops to my house is pretty straightforward. You walk uphill until you hit an intersection. Then you turn right and begin walking downhill. So, sandwiches in hand, my friend and I began to walk. I was practically hobbling since my knees were bruised to hell after being tossed about by the violent waves. It was super dark and the sky was an almost oily black with no moon in sight. We were not nervous and talked about random things as we went. At the corner of the intersection, there is an old and rather run-down house that is fenced off by a huge hedge. The hedge is mostly solid, except for a couple of sections that were cut out of it and lead to the house's front door. The owner of the house is an old and stout woman who loves sitting on a lawn chair, smoking cigarettes and grimacing every time I give her a friendly wave. In the darkness, the hedge was a solid mass of black leaves and very difficult to see through. My friend and I rounded the corner and were about to begin the easier downhill walk when there was a bright flashing light, as if someone had blinked a flashlight on and off again at us, or something. We were dumbfounded and paused to look around in confusion. My friend laughed nervously and said,
"That was weird. Maybe it was a street lamp or something."
I was still looking around warily when there was another flash, but this time I saw where it had come from. There was a figure. From the shape of the shoulders and chest, I assumed it was a man who was clothed entirely in black and held a camera in his gloved hands. The flash illuminated his grungy old hoodie and dirty jeans. He was crouching in one of the cutout sections of the hedge and pointing the camera straight at my face as I turned to look. My heart just about stopped. What the actual fuck was a man doing crouched in the darkness and taking pictures of my friend and I with the flash on? I quickly turned back and elbowed my friend, mumbling something along the lines of, "Keep walking, dude, just keep walking." We sped up, my friend facing forward whilst I kept turning to glance over my shoulder. The man in the hedge rose to his feet, and when we were about 10 feet away from him, he began to take long strides toward us, hands now jammed into his pockets of his black hoodie. My mouth was dry and my stomach twisted into knots as I began to walk faster and faster. This shit was something I'd expect to read or see in a movie, but never experience for myself. I felt totally unprepared, especially since my friend was with me and didn't even know there was a man following us. We were half running at this point, which was killing my bruised knees. Every step began to burn, but we continued walking downhill at an ever-increasing speed. Each time I looked back, the creep was closer and closer to us, making almost no sound and never faltering in his stride. My house is on a lot with a couple of others, the whole lot surrounded by an iron fence with an unlocked gate at the front facing the street. We bolted into the gate and slammed it shut, and my friend went to open the door of my house as I stood next to the gate and peered out to the street. He was gone. When we were finally inside, eating our sandwiches, I told my friend about the man and that he had taken pictures of us as we rounded the corner. We were both rather freaked out, my friend saying that my constant looking over my shoulder had put them on edge. I mentioned it to my mum, but she blew it off and we went to our sleepover like nothing had happened. The next night, I was home alone, waiting for my mum and siblings to return from the movies. There is a large window that faces the street in my room where I was sitting on the couch, and the blinds weren't drawn yet since I'm a bit of a lazy bastard. So I was sitting in front of this window and eating dinner whilst I was playing Skyrim on the PS3. A pretty average night, if I'm being honest. The volume was turned way up since I was home alone and there was no one around to complain. From the corner of my eye, I see movement. It's dark again, being almost 10:30, so I tell myself that it was probably just a cat or something, and go back to playing Skyrim. Then, there's a flash from somewhere near the fence. My blood runs cold as fucking ice. I'm sitting there in my robe and some motherfucker is taking pictures of me. Hell fucking no. I yanked the blinds closed and, not wanting to go outside and investigate, continued to play Skyrim. The doors were all locked and I figured I could just wait for my mum to arrive back home. That was yesterday. Now, it's about 11 o'clock and I'm in my upstairs bedroom, which has a huge window that also faces the street. I was lying in my bed, listening to some quiet music while I closed my eyes and tried to relax. My curtains were open. Not all the way, but enough so that my bed was visible from the ground. It's almost completely silent until I hear the gate to the fence swing open. I turn off the music. Crunching leaves, which means someone is walking over towards my house. I assume at this point it's one of the other people who live in my lot. The crunching stops right below my window. I am warier now, and to be honest, a little nervous after the previous events. Wanting to go to close the curtains, I sit up on my bed in order to reach them, when there's another flash coming from right below my fucking window. I yank the curtains closed and jump back into bed, feeling sick and a bit panicked. The crunching leaves receded, and I heard footsteps walk away from my house back down the street. That was about 10 minutes ago. Something is going on. I've never been in a situation like this before, but based on the past events, I think that there might be someone stalking and taking photos of me. If something else happens, I'll let you guys know, but I hope that I won't have to. Update. First off, thank you all so much for your support and suggestions in the comments section. It has been a huge help knowing that I'm not completely alone in this situation. Secondly, I took a trip to the store and bought a motion detector porch light which I'm having someone install at the moment. Hopefully the new light will deter this wacko if he hasn't given up already. For the past couple of days, I've slept at a friend's house, and tonight I'm spending the night in my own house once more. Thanks again. Hopefully this will be the first and last update to my paparazzi stalker story. Stay safe, you guys.
Number 3.
So luckily this story doesn't involve me being chased, almost kidnapped, stalked, etc. But it is one of the strangest things that has ever happened to me. I think about whatever happened from time to time, and sometimes I feel as though maybe I was overreacting. But then I remember how I felt like my stomach was in my throat and my heart was going to burst out of my chest, and I know that my fear was justified. I never told my parents or the parents of the kids that I was babysitting, which looking back was probably really stupid. This happened when I was about 14. I had just started babysitting for this family in my neighborhood. They had 2 kids, a boy who at the time was 10 and a girl who at that time was 8. They were great kids to babysit. They got along with each other without fighting and always did what I asked of them without complaining. Before I launch into what happened, I'm going to give you all some background information about this family's house so you all can understand why I was so freaked out. The house is situated pretty far back in my neighborhood, on this little side street off of the main road that runs through the neighborhood. The house is in a cul-de-sac, so there's not a lot of traffic on this road at all. Usually, the only people that ever came into the cul-de-sac are the mailman and people who lived in the other 3 houses that were in the cul-de-sac. The street itself was not very long at all, so there were only 3 houses on each side of the street that weren't in the cul-de-sac. Essentially, despite being in a large neighborhood, the street that this house was situated on was very quiet, and if you didn't live in the neighborhood, you might not even know that the street existed. It was a fall Friday night, and I arrived at the house around 6 o'clock. The kids were already sitting down eating dinner when I got there, and the parents told me that they expected to be home around midnight or so. The parents also made a joke about how the kids had the whole street to themselves, since the other families that lived there were out of town for Thanksgiving. The parents left and the kids finished eating, and we went outside to play in the cul-de-sac. I remember locking the front door and taking the house key outside with me. The kids rode around on their scooters for about an hour. For some reason, I just felt really on edge while the kids were playing outside. I chalked this feeling up to knowing that we were alone on the street since everyone else was out of town. After the kids finished playing outside, we went inside to play Wii in the basement. I remember locking the front door once we were back inside and putting the key on the kitchen counter. I then checked the front door again before I went downstairs to the basement. I was super vigilant about checking the doors because I had watched so many scary movies where the babysitter forgets to lock the door and then some crazy murderer gets into the house and blah blah blah. As the kids are playing in the basement, I get that unsettling feeling again. I didn't feel like we were being watched. It was more like when you know that something is going to pop out in a scary movie and you're just anticipating it on the edge of your seat. The feeling sticks with me the entire time that we're in the basement, but again, I chalk it up to knowing that the entire street is empty. The clock strikes 10 and it's time for the kids to head to bed. We go to the top floor of the house where the kids' bedrooms are. The house is set up so that when you open the front door of the house and come inside, you're standing in the foyer with the stairs to go up to the top floor directly in front of you. If you're standing in the foyer, you can see all the way up the stairs into the bathroom on the top floor. So the kids are in the bathroom brushing their teeth and we all hear a car pull up in their driveway. I figure that it must be their parents coming home super early, and I expect to hear the garage door start opening. But that sound never comes. I walk into the girl's bedroom and look out her front window. There's a car running in the driveway, and there's a man in the car, but the headlights are turned off despite it being 10 PM and pitch black dark outside. I figured that it was someone who got lost in our neighborhood and was just using the driveway to stop and get their bearings before heading back out on the road. I leave the girl's bedroom and head back into the bathroom where the kids are. Suddenly, I hear a knock on the front door. I turn around and there's a man standing at the door holding a pizza box. There are 2 long windows on either side of the front door, so I have a clear view of this guy, and I know that he has a clear view of us. I immediately get that eerie feeling that I'd been feeling all night. I asked both of the kids if they ordered pizza for some reason, and they both said no. These kids were always very honest and wouldn't lie about something like that, or even order a pizza without asking me, so I knew that they were being truthful. Normally, I would have gone downstairs to see what this guy wanted. Maybe he had the wrong house and I could point him in the right direction. But that little voice in my head was screaming, "Do not go downstairs. Do not open the door." The guy also didn't look like he worked for any pizza company. Normally, they would be wearing a uniform or a hat with the company's logo on it or something. This guy seemed off. He looked like he was in his late 30s, early 40s and looked super disheveled. His shirt was really wrinkled, his pants were filthy and ripped, and he had this ratty black baseball cap that was pulled down super far so that his eyes were covered. He was also grinning really aggressively. Like, I thought this guy's teeth would just shatter because of how hard he was pressing them together. At this point, the kids notice him and start asking why he's here, should we open the door, etc. I tell them no and ask that they just go into their rooms and lie down. The boy goes to his room and I walk the girl into her room and look out the window at the car again. I notice that the car doesn't have one of those pizza delivery car signs on the top, which all of the pizza companies in my town require delivery drivers to have. So now I feel really confident in my initial intuition that this guy isn't a legit pizza delivery guy. The girl gets in bed and I come back out of her room and sit down at the top of the stairs so that I can keep an eye on this guy. I tried to stay really calm so as not to upset the kids, even though I was flipping out on the inside. He's still standing at the door holding the pizza box in one hand, and he's still grinning that teeth-shattering grin. His mouth almost looked too big for his face. Even though I can't see his eyes because of the hat, I know that he's dead-ass staring at me. Then, without breaking eye contact, he starts jiggling the door handle pretty aggressively, while still grinning. I silently thank God that I was so psychotic about making sure the front door was locked. He stops jiggling the handle and resumes staring at me. If I was in this situation now, I probably would have called the police immediately. But being only 14 and fairly new to babysitting, I was paralyzed with fear. I felt like if I took my eyes off of him even for a second, when I looked back, he would be standing at the base of the stairs. After about another 5 minutes of the stare down, he literally starts walking backwards off of the porch without breaking eye contact. This guy was walking backwards towards his car while staring at me. I go into the parents' bedroom, which also has a view of the driveway, kneel down in front of the window and peek out. I'm expecting to see this guy getting into his car, but no, the guy is nowhere in sight, but the car is still there. So I return to my perch at the top of the stairs, half expecting to see him again at the door, or worse, standing at the bottom of the stairs. But he was nowhere to be seen. After about 20 minutes, I hear a car starting. I run back to the parents' room, kneel in front of the window again, and notice that the car in the driveway has started and the guy is sitting in the driver's seat, still fucking grinning. He also doesn't turn the headlights on. He shifts into reverse and begins slowly backing out of the driveway, grinning the entire time. Right before he drove off, he turns his head and, I swear, makes direct eye contact with me. Again, I can't see his face because of the hat, but I know that he was looking at me. This is really disturbing to me since he didn't really know where I was in the house. The parents' window is the farthest window to the right if you're looking at the house from the outside. The lights in the parents' bedroom are off and I'm kneeling down, so really the only part of me that might have potentially been visible is the top of my head, my eyes and my nose. But it's also pitch black outside. He doesn't have his headlights on and it's pitch black in the parents' bedroom, so I doubt that I was really visible. He also didn't spend time scanning the windows. His head literally just snapped to where I was. It's like he could sense where I was. After I had time to calm down and collect myself, I started replaying what had just happened and came to the following conclusions. This guy was not a pizza delivery guy. He had no uniform, looked and acted like he was possessed or something, and his car was unmarked. Those 20 minutes or so that elapsed between when he walked backwards off the front porch to when he got into the car were probably spent walking around the house and checking all of the doors, trying to gain entry. I believe that he had malicious intent. Maybe he wanted to rob the house. Maybe he wanted to do something more sinister to me or the kids. Either way, this guy was bad news, and I'm glad that I trusted the voice in my head. I think he probably found some pizza box and tried to pose as a pizza delivery guy to get me to open the door for him. There are still some parts of the story that are confusing to me though. If he really wanted to get inside the house, why didn't he find a rock, a brick or something and throw it through a window? I mean, I'm very glad that he didn't, but I just thought it was a bit odd that he checked the doorknobs and then gave up after he discovered that they were all locked. Maybe he felt like doing something that made a lot of noise would alert me, and so he was trying to sneak in a more subtle way to try and catch me off guard. But why did he walk backwards off of the porch? Was it just to preserve eye contact and thus intimidate me? Or was this dude just insane? Why did I feel so unsettled early in the evening before the guy even showed up? Was he watching the house and waiting for the kids to go to bed and for me to be off guard before trying to get into the house? How did he know where to look when he was backing out of the driveway? Why was he grinning the entire time? Did he know that our house was the only house on the street that was inhabited at the time? Why did he pick that house, especially given the fact that it's on a very quiet and secluded street, and you have to drive pretty far back in the neighborhood to even reach the street? He could have picked the 50 or so other houses that you have to pass to even get to that house. The town where I live is upper middle class and has a super low crime rate, and drugs aren't really an issue. We're also surrounded by other similar upper middle class areas, so I'm doubtful that this person was on drugs or some crazy vagrant. Of course, I could be wrong. Maybe this dude was just jacked up on drugs. Maybe he was just a vagrant dude. Maybe he really was just a lost pizza delivery man with some unsettling personal quirks. But I'm really doubtful. Whatever he was, I'm glad that I haven't seen him since, that he never returned to that family's house, and that I had enough sense to triple check the front door being locked and listen to the voice in my head. Let me know what you all think what this guy may have been up to. I never told my parents or the parents of the kids, which, as I said, was a stupid idea. I definitely should have told someone about it. If he was really watching their house, they needed to know about it.
Number 2.
Just a little background. I'm a female and was 12 when this all started, and I lived in a very calm part of my estate in Ireland. My mum is involved too, but not as much as I am. So, on to the story now. It was 12 AM and had just turned Christmas Day when we got a knock on our door. I was taught not to open the door to strangers, especially when it's 12 AM, so I just ignored it and hoped whoever it was would just go away. About 3 minutes later, I heard another knock, but this time it was like a huge bang at the door. I was terrified and didn't know what to do, so by instinct, I went and got my mum to answer. When she answered, this drunk Romanian guy who had a very scruffy beard and was wearing a white hoodie was just standing there and asked,
"Can I walk your dog? I have my dog with me, so she'll be fine."
And my mum, of course, said no. I was a bit away from the door, but that's all I heard him say. My mum kept politely asking for him to go away, and when she had had enough, she closed the door. The next morning, I was sitting having my breakfast, and my mum brings up the incident to my dad. So, me being me, I started eavesdropping and took off one of my headphones. I was really scared because that's the guy who stalks me in the bushes while walking Molly. That's our dog. When she said that, my heart sank so deep into my chest that it started to hurt. Fast forward 3 years and I'm home alone watching TV upstairs in my room when I just had this sudden urge to look outside my window. And let me tell you, I was terrified. The same man was standing in my empty driveway looking up into my bedroom. I got so freaked out and without hesitation immediately closed my curtains over. No more than 10 seconds later, there was a huge bang at my front door and I hear the handle being played with. when he finally stopped with the door handle, I heard the window downstairs shatter into shards, and I heard him climb in. I sprinted into my bathroom and locked the door behind me, bringing my phone with me. I hear really fast thumps go up the stairs and hear my bedroom door open, and once he realizes I'm not there, he immediately goes for the bathroom door handle. He starts trying to kick the door down and was screaming that he would rape and kill me. I called 999, and within 5 minutes I hear, "Put your hands up, do it, now." I was so fucking terrified that it took me almost 30 minutes to get out of the bathroom. The officer told me that he had a backpack, and in there they found dildos, condoms, a rope, a gag, bleach, and a meat cleaver. Also, I want to add that if the officers had arrived 5 minutes later, then I don't know what would have happened to me, as within about 5 kicks, he would have kicked the door down, and I don't know what would have happened to me if he did get in. This was a truly horrifying experience.
Number 1.
I think Reddit is the only place I feel anonymous right now. This whole week, I've either gotten a text message or phone call asking if I was sleeping. I've gotten friend requests and follows by different profiles with different names, but with all the same picture, just a red block. This would be followed up without fail by a guy in a red hoodie pounding on my door every night this week around 10:30. Right now, I'm waiting for it to happen again. I live by myself in the city and half of my apartment complex is completely empty. In my end, the nearest person to me is on the other side of the pool. I don't deal in drugs. I don't browse the deep web or any stupid shit like that. I'm afraid to answer the door, and the police said that they'd cruise by around 10:30 twice this week and haven't showed up. I expect them tonight as well, but who knows? I guess because I'm a guy, they don't put much effort into it. Edit. These are some updates I've been sharing with everyone. He came by again, waiting for police.
He's fucking there again. He's fucking there again. Fuck. Dude, I don't want to fucking... What the
Whole lot of nothing from police. They started accusing me of being on drugs and said my video doesn't prove much. Fuck my life. This guy has me so paranoid I haven't slept in 2 days. I have no one to call and I work from home. I've only been in this city for 3 months. What the fuck am I gonna do? An old friend got me through the night on Skype. I'll be going to the police station in a few hours. Can't do another night here. 5 hours at the police station today. I'm getting the runaround. All I asked was for a police officer to be at my door from 10 to 11. They said that that was impossible. Then they told me pretty much the same kind of things you guys are telling me. Baseball bat, gun, stay with a friend, etc. I left after giving them all the evidence I had and filed a police report. I've been talking with some neighbors across the way and one said that they've seen the guy come to my door before and invited me to come stay with them between 10 and 11 tonight. If I get a clear shot, I'll try to take a video with my phone, but I'm more interested in getting this guy caught, so that will be secondary. And I would like to also thank the anonymous Reddit hacker that has offered to help me find him through his fake profiles. He's working on it now. One thing I just remembered was when I first moved in here, this tweaker guy that would ask me for money every time I came back in the morning after breakfast. I refused and got in a huge argument with him, but haven't seen him for 2 months. That's the only person I can think of who I've pissed off since I moved into the city. Any exes or would-be enemies are 1,000 miles away. I'll keep you guys posted. Look for an update around 11 PM, which is 5.5 hours from this post time. I think it's way worse than I thought. I set my old phone up because it's the only other camera I have on my windowsill. I went across and waited at the neighbours. We saw the guy walk up and spot the camera and walk away. He didn't even knock. We waited for a little over an hour for this, and right when we came back, there was only 30 seconds left on the SD card.
Don't be scared. Just listen. It's me, Xander. And I can prove it. Okay. Let's see. Stuff only you and me know. Okay. On my 7th birthday, I wanted a toy fire truck. I didn't get it. And you were real nice about it. And then the house next door right now. And then no fire truck escape. And for years I thought you set the fire for me. And then you gave me. For a while last year, I thought.
Police are coming again. I'll be sleeping at the neighbours tonight and maybe moving back home soon. Sorry guys, I had to put the phone down and get some work done today. The hacker thinks that he's found the guy, one Robert McGuire, but I can't be sure that that's not an alias. Details are still unconfirmed and will basically stay that way unless I get a clear picture of the guy. Also, I don't want to alert him or I may never get him caught, so no counter-stalking or harassment. The goal is to get him arrested, but I feel my case will be weakened if I retaliate and use tactics like his. Until then, I'm at Motel 6. I didn't want to overstay my welcome at my neighbours. I won't be staking out tonight. I just need to rest my mind over the whole ordeal. The stress is getting to me. I need one night where I don't have to worry about people coming to my door or looking out for people coming to my door. I'm going back home now. My neighbour confronted the guy last night, which was against my wishes. I didn't want to scare him off without getting a clear picture of him. This may have prolonged the situation. I don't have all the details yet. My neighbour talked to the guy who was around at my bedroom window this time. He snuck up right behind him with a flashlight and asked what he was doing. The stalker claimed that I owed him money and was acting belligerent. He ran off after my neighbour tried to grab him. He got a good look at him and is coming with me tomorrow to make a statement. As for me, my father is flying in to help me move out in 2 days. Motel 6 till then. Update, 9th of July. This has taken a weird turn. My dad has helped me get into the new place across town, but my neighbour was nowhere to be found when it came time to make a statement. I knocked on his door a handful of times between my moving trips, but they weren't home. Their phone says no service when I call, and I don't plan on going back to that complex anytime soon. I really hope that they're okay. Update, 10th of July. Still no word from my old neighbour, and the office is closed on Sunday. I'll try calling them tomorrow. Their phone still says out of service when I call. Update, 11th of July. The office said that my old neighbour was evicted at the beginning of the month. They also left most of their stuff behind, just the electronics, and their clothes were gone. Maybe he realised that stuff would be brought up about him if he talked to the police about anything. I mean, it is likely that the guy was just down on his luck, but I'm feeling like I can't trust anybody. Update. What the fuck? I heard light knocking on my bedroom window in my new place and caught this with my phone. I have a wallet cover case and I'm able to wedge the flap in my window so that it holds my phone up, and I got this. The police are coming. This is like the 6th time I've called them. P.S. The note at the end was my address and apartment number. Update. Big break in my case. My combined footage apparently rang a bell for one of the detectives. They said that they think it's a guy they brought in a couple of years ago for harassing a couple both over the internet and by coming to their doorstep right by my old side of town. Apparently, he's not even allowed to have a computer or use social media. He is mentally ill but has no assault charges, just stalking, harassment, cybercrimes and threats. Basically, he's a super troll, and like I suspected, I must have argued with the guy on Facebook or Twitter at some point. They said that they are going to look out for him to bring him in for questioning. They want me to come in for a lineup when the time comes, but I don't see why, as the videos are the best look I've ever gotten at the guy. He fucked up with that last stunt though. I just caught enough of his face for the police to finally do something.